Okay, we're here today on realagriculture.com at the Tiffin conference at the Lethbridge College. Right now we're with Dennis McKnight. Dennis is from the Innovators in Calgary. Welcome today, Dennis.
Thank you.
Okay, Dennis, you're one of the big keynote speakers today at the conference. You're going to be speaking about a number of things. Mainly, what is the basis of your discussion tonight?
Well, I mean, the title of it is there a global market for Alberta beef? So I'm looking right at, the Alberta beef product. And looking at what I think we should be doing to sell beef around the world and try to answer the question, is there a market? My view is, yes, there is a market. But my view is, instead of going after what I call the commodity beef market and going out and playing the price game in the world, if you look at a lot of our focus right now in the Canadian beef industry, it really is on Asia. It's on China, it's on those emerging markets in Asia. So China, South Korea, Taiwan, now Japan is not an emerging market, it's a big market for beef. But part of my concern is it seems to be that's probably 80 to 90% of our focus. And I think in part what we're trying to do is go over there and hit a home run. But the problem with trying to hit a home run is you strike out 70% of the time and you might get a home run 30% of the time. Now, I want to say that I think we should absolutely be there and we should be over there and be very active in the market, but we're up against some very stiff competition. The Australians are over there. In my view, the Australians are probably the best marketers of beef in the world.
So what makes them the best marketers of beef?
Well, because when they go into a market, if you look at what they're going to do in Japan, and I go through it this evening, is they fully understand the marketplace when they go in. In Japan, they're in the school system. They have little children eating Australian beef with a little Australian flag sticking out of it. They run promotions in over 2,000 supermarkets in Japan. Japanese are very concerned about the quality of the food that they're eating. It's a very pure society and they want their food to be pure. And so any concerns over disease or problems, obviously the problems we had once we had BSE here in Canada and how we got shut out of the Japanese market is a problem. But the Australians are in there. They're in the supermarkets. They're in the schools. They're in the media. They're on Facebook. They Twitter. I mean, they actually, Meat and Livestock Australia actually have Facebook and Twitters over there. So, they're all over the place, and they're aggressive. They go over there. They take the Japanese and wherever they go in the world, they bring them back to Australia. They show them around. They show them where their food comes from. So they kind of play this, we're from the outback, we're a little behind the times, but they're not. No, they're very aggressive. And I think what also works for them is that they work very well together, so the ranchers, the processors, and the retailers and the government, they all go together and they all pull their fair share, and they disagree a lot when they're in Australia, but when they leave the island, they're united.
Right.
And so and I think as well, the fact that if you look at New Zealand and Australia, they're very small populations, and so anything they do, they first realize they got to export or they got to market it around the world. So they start anything with that premise that we're going to have to go sell this product around the world.
So do you think Canada maybe hasn't been aggressive enough, or what's been our?
I think Canada, as marketers, we're not that great, and I really base that a lot about going to the big food shows around the world. It's what do they say about us globally, about Canadians? We're nice, but we're boring. Well,
right.
We kind of live up to that reputation when we go out, what we do around the world. Certainly, when I go to CL in Paris and Anuga and Cologne, which are some of the two largest food shows in the world, the presence of Canada in the Canadian meat industry is almost pathetic in that kind of an environment. The Brazilians are there, the Argentinians, the Australians. Part of our argument is Europe's not our market, but what they fail to realize is that there are meat buyers from 100 countries around the world. It's not only Europe that's there, and more importantly, why aren't we in Europe? We can sell beef to Europe. We can't sell beef that has hormones and antibiotics, but we can sell natural beef, and that's what's selling. And that's where the euro's at 150 to our dollar. Those are the kind of markets we've got to go after, and we have to conform to what they want. we can't go over there and convince them that they should take our beef.
So do you think Canada should be focusing more on those sort of, I don't know if niche is the right word, but like those hormone-free markets, and that be working on that a little bit differently?
Well, yeah, I think we should. I think we should grow that market in Alberta. I mean, it's a very small part of the market right now, but that's where the world's going as I see it. Consumers, I mean, the people are growing more and more concerned every day, maybe not here in Alberta, but certainly in other markets around the world. What am I eating? Where did it come from? What was it fed? What was put in there? And I mean, it's not going to dissipate. It's only going to increase. And I'm not saying we should change overnight, but I think that that's where the high-end market is.
Yeah.
That's where people will pay the high-end prices is for the natural, particularly the natural products. And often with the natural beef product, you got a wonderful story. And see, what sells is not having the best beef in the world. What sells is having the best marketing in the world. And whether that's a sad statement on our world or society, that's reality. It's not the steak that sells, it's the sizzle. And if you don't have a good story, you're not going to sell your product. You're going to be a commodity. And then you're going to fight it out on price.
So in your mind, do you think that the Canadian market is, for a long time we had a very low dollar. And so that made us, we were able to compete on the cost sort of basis. And obviously we don't have a low dollar anymore. We're fairly close to par. I think we've kind of struggled adjusting to that, and that's not only on the production side but also the marketing side. And I think getting caught in the low cost versus high value.
Absolutely, and it still resonates with people in the industry. And I mean, there were a lot of good years here in Alberta, where the guys were raising their cattle, shipping them across the border, and taking advantage of the high American dollar. And I think there's some people that still believe that's going to come back. Like we're just in a momentary kind of blip, and that what we'll see is a high dollar or a low dollar again. And I don't see it. I mean, I see us having a higher dollar than the U.S. dollar. Mm-hmm. And part of the reason for that is the price of energy. Canada, I mean, we're providing the United States we're going to be up to 30 to 35% of their energy needs. So we have a petrodollar. And so as the higher the price of oil goes, so does the Canadian dollar. And, so we're in a whole new market. We're in a whole new environment. And we got to realize that, Now, with every challenge comes an opportunity, and there are opportunities out there. There are markets out there that are looking for high-quality beef products. And, in Europe and Germany and Switzerland and countries like that, they call it luxury. They see beef as a luxury item. And what that means is they don't eat it at home every day. I don't think we should be concerned about making it affordable for everybody so they can eat it all the time. I think what we should do is go after the higher end market and let the Brazilians and the Australians and whoever else fight it out over the low commodity stuff, and we go after the high end stuff because we can.
So are you concerned about the long? We've struggled with demand of middle meats, obviously with the recession and different things going on. Do you see that being a long term thing, or you look at the middle meats and those luxury cuts as the opportunity?
Absolutely. I mean, certainly the companies that I'm working with, and they're many of them are in the natural side. They have no problem moving their middle cuts to Europe. Okay. The whole question becomes getting Canadians and North Americans onto into the value cuts, and we've seen a real transformation happen since the recession has occurred. The only company that didn't crash on September 2008 when the stock market dropped 700 points was Campbell Soups. And if you go to Campbell Soup's website, the number one Googled thing on their website was crock pot. I'm starting to do a lot of work with restaurants, and restaurants are now waking up to the fact that there's a lot more money they can make by getting different cuts, chuck steaks, short ribs, all that kind of stuff, those kind of beef cuts. It takes a little bit while longer in the kitchen, but the meat quality is once it's been prepared, it's good quality. I mean, they're selling short ribs over in the Park Hyatt Zurich Hotel in Switzerland. That charges $700 a night minimum for a room. So those cuts can make it onto the menus. I think that's part of the industry struggle is how do you utilize the entire carcass?
Yeah.
Because on a 1,000-pound animal, you're only getting 400 pounds of meat, right?
Dennis, thank you very much for joining us today. It was a very interesting discussion. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.